Good morning, students. Welcome to the biology class. It's class 11, and today we are going to start a new chapter, that is chapter 3, Plant Kingdom. Hope all are doing well. Stay healthy and stay safe. So let's come to the topic. So today's topic we are going to discuss is about a whole chapter that deals with the plant kingdom. Okay. So in the last class we have seen that in the last chapter we have seen that what are the general characteristics of the plants, and in that we discussed the plants are autotrophic, and they have alternation of generation. The plants have their cells with cell walls which is made up of cellulose. Okay, so some general characteristics we have discussed. Now we are going to discuss the whole lot of the plant kingdom, how we are going to divide the plant kingdom, what are the methods that we use to divide the plant kingdom. Okay, because every scientist they propose their own method of classifying the plants. Clear? Every scientist, but some of them, like what we have seen with the Whitaker and the Linnaeus, some demerits they have faced while classification. So today we are going to discuss what are the different methods of classification we are following and which is a method that we follow now for the purpose of plant classification. Okay, so let's come to the topic, everyone. So systems of classification. So which are the different systems that we have used for the classification? The first system that we are describing here is the artificial system of the classification. Okay. Now, artificial system of classification, that means we consider only the morphological characters of the plants. What do you mean by morphology? The external characteristics. If I'm giving you a plant, yeah, if I'm giving you a twig, you can easily say what are the different morphological characteristics that plants are having. Like what is the shape of the leaf, what is the color of the flower, how the leaf has been arranged, whether it is a tall plant, whether it is a dwarf plant, all these characteristics, in which habitat they live. Okay, all these characteristics that you can say by seeing a plant, and such characteristics that we call it as the morphology. So in the initial system, the scientists said that, okay, we can follow the artificial system of classification that involves only the morphological characteristics. Okay, and other thing is that in this artificial classification, the scientists gave equal weightage to the vegetative as well as sexual characteristics. Okay, vegetative side as well as sexual characteristics, they have given the equal weightage. Now, is it acceptable that we have to give equal weightage to vegetative and sexual? No, because this vegetative characters are predicted for changes. Okay, because it is depending many things on the environmental factors. So if the environmental factors gets changed, there are chances that the vegetative characters can also change. So this is not the criteria. This is not the criteria, like we have given equal weightage to the vegetative as well as the sexual characteristics. Okay, so this system of the classifications we are rejecting, but we have learned, we are trying to learn whether this system can be followed. But the thing is that since they have been given only morphological characteristics, and another thing, we are giving equal weightage to the vegetative as well as the sexual characteristics. Okay, so let's see the point. So it used morphological characteristics, that is the first one. Then based on vegetative characteristics or on the androecium structure, this is the system given by the Linnaeus, and they give equal weightage to the vegetative and the sexual characteristics. And we know that the vegetative characters are easily affected by the environment. Okay. So this is the artificial system of the classification. Now, what system of classification we are following? That is the phylogenetic system of classification. This is the most acceptable system because in phylogeny, the word meaning of phylogeny is that we are considering their evolutionary relationship. Okay, we are considering the evolutionary relationship, like if these species are having a common ancestor, like the organism belonging to different taxa, even though they have a different taxa, but they have a common ancestor. Okay, and what is the main method to find the phylogenetic evolution? Everyone knows that is the study of the fossil. So by studying the fossil, By studying the fossil deposits, yeah, fossil remains, we can easily calculate the what is the phylogenetic relationship between one organism with the another organism. Okay, so this is the system that normally acceptable system that we normally follows. Clear? Now, in between, one more system is there, that is the natural system of classification. So, in the artificial, we told that we are considering only the which system? Only the morphological characteristics. But here, in the natural classification system, we are considering both, like external as well as the internal. Or you can say the external morphology as well as the internal anatomy. So, it's more comfortable than the artificial system of the classification. And this system of classification has been followed by the scientists, that is George Bentham and the Joseph Dalton Hooker. Generally, we call it as Bentham and Hooker classification. So, in Bentham and Hooker classification, he followed the natural system of classification where he has seen both the external characteristics as well as the internal characteristics. Okay, so let's see, let's read. So this is the based on the natural affinities, and they consider external features as well as the internal features like ultrastructure, their anatomy, their embryology, and the phytochemistry. I think it's clear for you what do you mean by internal structure. Okay, and this system has been followed by the Bentham and Hooker. So Bentham and Hooker's classification, they are following natural system of the classification where he has been taken into account the internal structure as well as the external structure. Now, the new development in the taxonomy, since after that, like we have started developing the computers, we have all kinds of DNA extraction method, yeah, chemical extraction method. The new taxonomy has been developed that is focusing on the numerical taxonomy. The word itself is clear, numerical, numbers. And cytotaxonomy. What is cytology? That is a cell structure, chromosome behavior, and the chemotaxonomy. Chemo means chemicals, chemical constituents of the plant. Okay, so what is numerical taxonomy? It is using the computers, and the observable characters have been recorded, and each character has been given some codes and the numbers so that we can study a large number of the plants at the same time. This is what we are doing in the numerical taxonomy. And cytotaxonomy. What is cyto? That is mainly based on the cell structure, chromosome structure, and their behavior. Okay, so we are taking into consideration the cytological information to study the different groups of plants. So that is called as the cytotaxonomy. And the third one, that is a chemo. Chemo means chemical. So it's mainly based on the what are the chemical constituents that is present in the plant. So accordingly, we classify the plants. Okay, so these are the modern developments, they are the new developments in the taxonomy where we use numerical taxonomy, where the numbers have been assigned to the specific characters, numbers and codes have been assigned to the specific characters, and that will ease the process of the classification. Cytotaxonomy, where we are focusing on the cell structure and the chromosomal behavior. And the cytotaxonomy, sorry, chemotaxonomy, where we are considering the chemical constituents of the plant. Okay, so I think it's all clear for you. So we are having artificial system of classification, then comes natural system of classification, and the finally most accepted one is a phylogenetic system of the classification where we take into consideration the evolutionary relationship. And the new developments in the taxonomy are numerical taxonomy, cytotaxonomy, and the chemotaxonomy. Okay, I think it's clear for everyone. Let's go to the next part, that is how the plants has been classified. So this is the whole lot classification of the plant. So the plant kingdom is first dividing into cryptogamy and the phanerogamy. This crypto means hidden and the phanero means visible. So cryptogamy means they are the non-flowering plants. Okay, and the phanerogamy means they are the flowering plants. So cryptogamy, non-flowering plants, then how they have been propagated? They produce the spores. And phanerogamy, they are the flowering plants and they will propagate by the production of the seeds. Okay, now cryptogamy is again divided into thallophyta, bryophyta, and the pteridophyta. Thallophyta mainly includes the algae, fungi, and the lichens. Okay, and the bryophyta we will see one by one in this chapter. Liverworts and mosses are the main representative, and pteridophyta, they are the first vascular plants. What do you mean by vascular plants? Because they are the first plants that have the system of the conduction of water and the food material. We have studied earlier, the water is conducted with the help of the xylem, and the food is conducted with the help of the phloem. So Thallophyta, Bryophyta, they don't have this vascular system, but in the Pteridophyta, they are the starting members of the vascular system, like xylem and the phloem. Okay, so clear? Then comes the Phanerogame. They are the flowering plants, and they have been divided into two. One is called as the gymnosperm, and other one is the angiosperm. And the gymnosperm, again we can say they are having seeds, but their seeds are naked. We can see it from outside. Okay, so gymnospermae, the seeds are naked. And what about the angiospermae? The seeds have been covered, so you cannot see the seeds from outside, and the seeds have been seen inside the fruit. So if you split open that fruit, the seeds will be inside. But in the gymnosperm, the seeds, the sperma means seeds, the seeds are naked. Okay, and depending upon the number of cotyledons, these angiosperms are divided into two. If they are having a single cotyledon, you will call it as a monocot, and if they are having two cotyledons, you will call it as the dicot. So depending upon the seed leaves, what are cotyledons? They are the seed leaves. Okay, so depending upon the number of cotyledons, they have been dividing into monocot and the dicot. So everyone, you can write this flowchart of the plant kingdom classification in your copy. The whole page you can take to explain like plant kingdom, starting with and cryptogame, phanerogame, and their division. I think it's clear. Everyone, you can write this classification in your copy. Now let's deal with one by one. So first one that today we are going to deal is the cryptogame, that is Thallophytae, and under the Thallophytae the main member is the algae. So these are the algae, the general characteristics I have given here. Some pictures are being given here that represent filamentous algae. You can see here I have showing you the Spirogyra, filamentous one, and the most massive one. The most massive algae, you cannot even imagine. If you think about algae, normally what's coming in your mind is a small Spirogyra. But see, these are the massive algae, and they are the kelps. They are called as the kelps, the massive algae. Okay. So what are the general characteristics of the algae? They are aquatic and some of them terrestrial also. Few algae grow on other plants, and in aquatic algae they can grow in marine as well as in the fresh water. Okay. Now some of them can be unicellular, microscopic like chlorella, and they are non-motile. What do you mean by non-motile? They cannot move from one place to another. And the chlamydomonas, they are unicellular, but they are motile. They can move from one place to another. So these are the examples of the unicellular one. So unicellular algae, chlorella, they are non-motile, and chlamydomonas, they are motile. Now multicellular example, they are unbranched filamentous like Spirogyra and the Eulothrix, and they are branched filaments. Example is Cara. You have to learn the examples here. Okay. And the colonial forms, it present in the form of a colony, and the example is volvox. And some are microscopic, and some are large weeds that can even grow to a length of 60 meters. You can assume how much is 60 meters. This much is 1 meter. So you can assume how long it is. And the example is sargassum. Okay. So these are the general characteristics that we have discussed. Like algae can be unicellular, it can be multicellular, it can be motile, it can be non-motile, it can be branched, it can be unbranched, it can present in the form of a colony, it can be microscopic, and it can be macroscopic. Okay. So these are the different forms of the algae. Now another characteristics of the algae, the algal wall. The algal wall consists of the two layers. The inner wall is called as the cellulosic, and the outer wall is made up of the pectin. You have to learn this one. So the algal wall is having two layers, outer layer and an inner layer. Outer layer is made up of pectin and the inner layer is the cellulosic cell wall. Okay, and there are mainly different pigments. Depending upon the pigments, the algae has been classified. So there are main pigments that is present in the algae are chlorophyll A, okay, then carotenoids and the phycobilins. These are the main photosynthetic pigments that are present. And what are the reserve food materials that are present in the algae? They can be in the form of starch, then laminarin, then mannitol, and even the Floridian starch. So these are the reserve food material that is present in the algae. Now, depending upon the pigments that is present in the algae, we are going to further classify the algae. Okay, so their cell wall, what is their cell wall made up of? They are having two layers. Outer layer is made up of pectin and the inner layer is made up of the cellulose. And they are having the pigments and what are the reserve food materials. Now, the next part is how an algae reproduce. So, generally, they have reproducing by three methods: vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction, and the sexual reproduction. First, let's see how it reproduces vegetatively. I given you a picture of the vegetative reproduction, that is fragmentation. The picture itself is very clear for you. A single algae is there, it has been fragmented. Okay, what do you mean by fragmented? It has been divided into two pieces and each piece can regenerate. Yeah, each piece can be developing into a new organism. And this process is called as the fragmentation. Okay, from the picture it's clear, everyone. You can see that this algae, it's a filamentous algae and they have been have fragmented into two pieces. You can see here it has divided into two pieces and each piece has the ability to develop into a new organism. And that process is called as a fragmentation and that is a vegetative reproduction method. Okay, now the next one is asexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction has been done with the help of the spores. The name of the spores is called as the zoospores. So can you see here? This is the parent cell. This is the parent cell I drawn here, parent cell. And this parent cell contains the zoospores. And can you see the structure here? It has been drawn like this. And you can see here some projections from their body. They are the flagella. And if there is flagella present, what does it indicate? They are motile. Okay, if there is no flagella, then we can say that they are non-motile. But here, the zoospores, they are having the flagella. So you can say that they are the motile structures. Okay, and this is how a new organism can be produced. Clear? So this is an asexual reproduction method. So vegetative propagation by the fragmentation and asexual reproduction by the production of the spore-like structure, and the name of the spores is the zoospores. Okay, and they are the flagellated one, and since they are the flagellated, they are the motile and they can germinate and they can give rise to the new plants. Okay, now let's see the sexual reproduction. See, so this is the sexual, you have to study all the general characteristics because when we go into the classes of this algae, then we will only say the word like zoospores, then fragmentation. So you should be able to identify what do you mean by zoospores. Okay, so you have to be thorough with this topic, then only we can go ahead. So let's see what are the different sexual reproductive methods. Sexual reproduction, everyone know what is the definition of sexual reproduction? Fusion of the two gametes. If the two gametes, if this is one gamete and this is another gamete, the fusion between two gametes is called as the fertilization, yeah, sexual reproduction. Now, what are the different gametes? Some of the algae, they are having isogamous. Some of the algae, their gametes are anisogamous. And some of the algae, they are having oogamous. See the difference. The picture itself, you can see very clearly. Iso. The word meaning of iso is similar. What is similar? The gametes are similar. Can you identify which is male and female here? I have written here female and the male, but it's very difficult to identify because both of them are looking similar. So, if the gametes are similar, then you will call it as isogamy. Okay, now the next one, we can say that if the gametes are dissimilar, then you will call it as anisogamy. Now, what is the difference that you can see? The female gamete is larger and this is a female gamete and the male gamete is the smaller. so they are called as dissimilar. But both of them are having the flagella, so they are motile, but their size is dissimilar, so you are calling it as anisogamy. Okay, now the third category is the oogamy. Tell me, what is the difference? Here the female gamete, they are the larger and they are non-motile. You can't see a flagella here. Can you see a flagella? No. So they are non-motile. And what about the male? They are motile and they have a smaller structure when you compare with the female. I think it's clear. Once again, we can see iso, similar. Both the gametes are looking similar. Aniso, both the gametes are looking dissimilar. The female gamete is bigger than the male gamete. And oogamy, one of the gamete, that is the female gamete, is not motile and they are fixed in one position, and the sperms, they are the smaller one and they can move from one location to the another location. Okay, so these are the three types of the gametes that is present. Some of them they contain isogamous, some of them they have anisogamous, some of them they have the oogamous. Okay, now let's see with the examples. If the gametes are flagellated and they are similar in size, example Chlamydomonas. And if the gametes are non-flagellated, some of them are non-flagellated also, and they are similar in size, example Spirogyra, and both are coming under isogamous. Now anisogamous, if the gametes are dissimilar, example Chlamydomonas. And another one oogamous, that is the fusion between a large non-motile female gamete with a smaller motile gamete. An example is volvox. So these are the three methods. Yeah, these are the three types. You can say three types of gametes that is present for the sexual reproduction. Some of the algae, they have the isogamous, some of them anisogamous, and some of them oogamous. Okay, you have to be very clear with these terms, because in the coming classes I will just describe only isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous word. So this, if this picture is in your mind, it will automatically come in front of you what is an isogamous structure. Okay, so you can even draw this picture in your copy. Now, what is the economic importance? This is an important question that used to come. What is the economic importance of the algae? Okay, so first one, half of the total carbon dioxide fixation is done by the algae. Why? Because algae, they are doing the photosynthesis. So while doing the photosynthesis, they fix the carbon dioxide present and they convert it into oxygen. Then they are the primary producers. Okay, they are the primary producers of energy rich compounds, and porifera, laminaria and sargassum, they are mainly used as the food material. Okay, algae, they are mainly used as the food material because they contain the nutrients rich. And some marine algae, that is the brown and the red algae, they produce hydrocolloids. Hydrocolloids means they are the water holding substances, and one of the brown algae, they produce the water holding substance called algin, and another one, that red algae, they produce the carrageen, and they are all hydrocolloids, water holding substances. Now the next economic importance is that agar. Everyone knows what is agar. It's mainly used for growing the microorganism, and it's used mainly in the preparation of ice creams and the jellies. Okay, so this agar, that is a product that obtained from the Gelidium. You have to remember the name of the microbes, Gelidium and the Gracilaria. Okay, and they are used to grow, this agar is used to grow the microbes and is preparing the ice creams and the jellies. And another economic importance, this algae, chlorella and spirulina, they are very rich in protein and they are used as SCP. What is SCP? Single cell protein. And this protein has been taken by the space travelers or the any diet procedures, where you can take this tablet and that can supplement your protein deficiencies. Okay, so those who are going to the space and all, they cannot carry the food material. So normally what they carry is, they carry some capsules. They carry some tablets that is rich in carbohydrate, proteins, vitamins and minerals. Okay, so here this chlorella and spirulina, they have been converted in the form of tablets because they are rich in protein. And this protein, they have been converting, it's normally called as single cell protein. So if you are taking this single cell protein, your food supplement will be done. Okay, so this is also important for you. what are your question is what are the different economic importance of the algae? नहीं तो briefly mention the economic importance of the algae. Okay, so don't write generally, you have to write along with the examples. This is all things are in your NCERT book. You can keep the book, you can underline, and you can learn. Now, depending upon the pigments that is present in the algae, we are going to divide the algae into three groups. First one is the chlorophyceae, second one is the phaeophyceae, and the third one is the rhodophyceae. Chlorophyceae, they contain the green pigment, so they are called as the green algae. And phaeophyceae, their main pigment is brown, so they are called as the brown algae. And here rhodophyceae, they contain the main pigments that is red color, and they are called as the red algae. So depending upon the pigments present, we are classifying the algae into chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, and the rhodophyceae. Chlorophyceae is green algae, phaeophyceae is brown algae, and the rhodophyceae is the red algae. Now, I have given a general characteristics of these three classes of the algae. You can go through it, and in the next class, we will detail all the three classes, three groups of the algae. So, let's see once the chlorophyceae. First one is chlorophyceae. Common name is given, major pigments are given, stored food, cell wall, how the flagella, and what habitat. Chlorophyceae. It's also called as green algae. The pigments are chlorophyll A and B. The stored food starch. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. There are 2 to 8 flagella. They are equal and their position is apical. They can be seen in fresh water, brackish water, and the salt water. Now, next one is brown algae, phaeophyceae. It's also called as brown algae. Chlorophyll A, C, fucoxanthin pigments. The stored food mannitol laminarin. Cell wall is cellulose and algin. They are having the two flagella, they are unequal and positioned laterally. They have been seen in fresh water, brackish water, and the salt water. Then red algae, pigments are chlorophyll A, D, and phycoerythrin. Stored food material Floridian starch. Cell wall made up of cellulose, pectin, polysulfide esters. Flagella is absent, and their habitat is fresh water, brackish water, salt water. You can learn this one, okay? And while studying the each and every class, we will detail this one. Now let's see a small video related to the algae. You can see the different types of algae, a small algae and a very massive algae that can go even up to 100 meters. So just have a look into the how the different algae looks like. It's mainly the marine algae that I'm showing here. You can see this is the deep sea, and the picture that we can see is very massive. See how wonderful it is to see this algae. It's marine one, and this is mainly the kelp algae called deep sea. So don't think that the algae is present only on the surface of the water. It's all present in the deep sea, and most of this marine algae, they are the members of brown as well as the red algae. Different creatures that is present under the sea. It's very interesting to watch, and the color, you can see the marvelous colors that is present there. If you are watching, if you have a habit of watching the Discovery channels and all, it's very exciting to see. And these are different algae, some kind of different fungi, everything are present in the deep sea. Okay, so that's all for this topic. So I think all of you understood this topic. This is an introductory part, that how we are classifying, and what are the different classification of the algae, and how this algae classified according to the pigments. Okay, that's all for this time.